You're listening to Spaz on Wine Uncorked with host Rhonda Spaziani on greeninkradio.com.
Are you la la listening? Are you la la listening?
Hi, this is Rhonda from Spaz on Wine, and tonight we're at Rolling Tomato with our friends Lou and Debbie. Say hello.
Hi, how are you?
And my husband Gary. Hi, Gary. And then my father, our resident wine connoisseur, Eugene Spaziani. He's a wine expert, educator, author, and each Sunday night he lectures to us about what we're drinking, so we thought we'd bring you guys in with us. And tonight we are drinking two different Zinfandels. We're starting with the Tree Haven Lane 2018 California Zin, and then we're going to back that up with the Sierra Trails 2018 California Old Vine Zin. And my father's going to share his expertise with you about Zinfandel.
Zinfandel. California's most dominant red grape variety.
Is it the most dominant? I didn't know that.
No, absolutely. 20% of all the red grapes grown in California are now Zinfandels. Zinfandel has a long and interesting history, as far as we know, documented going into the 17th and 1800s. Research several years ago by Dr. Meredith out of UCal Davis, tracking down the heritage of many grape varieties, and one of them she was tracking down was Zinfandel. Apparently, the original grape out of Zinfandel came from Croatia, a grape variety called Tribigrad. They thought it was Provic Mali, but Provic Mali was just a clone from Tribidas, but most of you probably know that. The grape variety was planted in Croatia, and wines were made in that particular region, and eventually some of the vines got to Europe, and Austria, Germany, France, Italy, and Portugal, and Spain. In Italy, it became very dominant in the toe of the boot. It got to Austria, where it was expanded upon and experimented with for many years. The grape variety, when it got to Italy, had a different name. They called it Prima. It was an early ripening grape variety, and Prima means early, and that's how that grape variety got that particular name. In the early 1800s, some of the cuttings were sent to the United States, up in Massachusetts and in Long Island, where it was experimented with and grown in greenhouses, and primarily was used as an eating grape variety. They tried to grow it outside, and because the climatic conditions were not conducive to growing this particular variety, it was not a good outside growing grape, so they changed to Concord. And the 49ers, during the gold rush to California, some of the cuttings were taken out from the east and brought out to California, where it became very proficient and was ideally suited to the climatic conditions in California. At one particular time, it was probably the most dominant red grape variety grown in California, up until the time of the Great Prohibition in the 1920s. When Prohibition came in, that was a disaster for the wine industry in California and in the United States, alcohol industry actually. Many of the varieties were taken out of the ground and replanted. They tried to send many of these Zinfandel varieties to the East Coast to the home winemakers, because during the Prohibition, home winemakers could make up to 300 gallons of wine a year by law. Because of their tradition, here the government realized that it was part of their food. And they tried to send Zinfandel there, but Zinfandel was not a good traveling grape variety. The skins were too skinned, and they would rot before they could reach the East Coast. That's why they didn't do very well during this particular time. Once Prohibition was ended in 1933, there weren't many vines available outside the wines they were used for growing home winemaking grapes. So the industry had to get restarted in California, and of course Zinfandel, again, because of its past history, started to dominate again California. But initially it started out as being an additive into alcoholic beverages, more than wine, more table grapes variety. Experimentations continued. They did a lot of blending with it, and it wasn't really fully appreciated. But they kept using it in bulk wines, generic wines, the hardy Burgundy wines, and those particular wines. As time went on and technology increased, the wine kept getting better and better. They kept finding better locations for it. Certain locations in Sonoma County and even in Napa County, in Mendocino County, St. Louis Obispo, Temecula, they found that the variety was doing very, very well and became very dominant grape. It started to pick up steam in the 50s and 60s, and in 1970, Bob Trinchero from Sutter Home decided he wanted to make a darker red wine from Zinfandel. And he drew off the juice as the wine was being fermented, and he made a separate white wine from that juice. And during the fermentation of the white wine, it got what they call a stuck fermentation, where the wine wasn't completely fermented all the way out to dry. But he was stuck with it and stabilized at about 4% residual sugar, and he had thousands and thousands of gallons of this white wine hanging around. So he decided to try to bottle it, and he bottled it as a Monteuse Rosé type of wine. And it was an instant hit. You may remember in the 70s that White Zinfandel was very, very popular and still is, outsold the red varieties. But since then, people become more sophisticated in their drinking habits and matching food with wine habits. And Zinfandel also gained stature as a premier red wine in California. And it is today. It is today. It's very comparable to the great Cabernets, the great Merlots, and some of the other varieties in California, and can stand up to all of them. One of the advantages of Zinfandel to the winemaker is very versatile. You can make a white wine out of it. You can make a rosé wine out of it. You can make a hearty red wine out of it. You can make a port wine out of it. And it's also used as a blending partner to many of the other varieties. So it has a lot of versatility for the home winemaker and for the commercial winemaker. Another reason for its popularity.
Well, thank you so much, Dad. That was amazing. How are you? Our pizzas came, so we got to go. We have our priorities, guys. But Deb and Lou, how are you finding, and Gary, how are you finding the wine that we're drinking thus far?
Very good.
Awesome. So chin chin to you all. Thank you for tuning in. And next week, who knows what wine we'll be drinking. We'll figure it out. But we hope that you have an amazing week. And please tune in to all the podcasts on Green Ink Radio. And this podcast, as all other podcasts are, is supported and sponsored by Green Ink Marketing Communications. You can find them at greenink.us.com. And they bring your stories to life.
Are you la la listening? Are you la la listening? He used to be there. He used to be there. Are you la 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 looking?
Music provided by Immunuri. For more information, check them out at imunuri.com. Thank you for listening to Spaz on Wine Uncorked. Tune into greeninkradio.com to rock your best life.
I'll show you that.